YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and welcome to a battle of the Three Kingdoms. I'll be leading you through this in just a moment. Let me first say thank you to all those who have been supporting my effort to make it to 250,000 subscribers. We are well on track, and I'm asking you, if you have not subscribed, please go do so. Help me meet this awesome YouTube milestone. It's been 10 years that I've been making videos, and I would love to make it to the 250,000 subscriber mark. Be absolutely amazing. Again, thank you for the help. Now, what is this? This is a battle. I've been playing a lot of Yellow Turban campaign just kind of in my spare time for fun. And this is going to be a huge battle for survival. So this is me versus the AI in one of my campaigns that I have not been showing on YouTube. This is just one for fun. And we're going to have my character here, Dai and Yang Bin. Dai is a scholar. He specializes in melee. And he's going to be one of my stronger characters for taking down enemies. I've got a veteran here, which is going to be another character pretty strong in melee here. He's also buffing the units around him with charge resistance, so this is Yang Bin. And then I have a healer that I always try and bring a healer in my army. These guys can actually bring back the hit points of my leadership, and it makes them very versatile in a long time fight. So let me introduce you to their army. I have a couple of Yellow Turban horsemen. These are medium cavalry. I think I accidentally just paused it. There we go. I'm gonna hit play. I've got a couple of Yellow Turban cavalry. They are a sword and shield medium weight cavalry. I've got a couple of white wave horsemen. It's gonna be medium weight spear cavalry. Pretty decent units. The main line of my army is gonna be made up of crossbowmen here. These are the watchmen of the peace. And I've got some heavy swordsmen. These are Yuxia. So very nice sword units. And then out towards the flanks of my infantry, I'm going to have some different types of melee units. These are my Yellow Sky Heralds, a high damage unbreakable unit that can also just charge into battle. They are led by a Militia Virtue, another unbreakable unit. I bring these because they can hold the line. These guys don't do a ton of damage, but they have very, very high melee evasion, which makes them very, very hard to hit. Now, the AI is almost 6,000 troops strong, and it's between 3 different armies. One of their armies was bringing on reinforcements here, and this is against the Kingdom of Haishan, which I believe is actually one of the bandit factions who has declared itself emperor. And I'm fighting a huge war in the north of China versus them. And you can see here that their reinforcements were streaming in, and I've decided to hit them hard with all of my cavalry. I do have to be careful, though. They have some pearl dragons around. The axemen and the swordsmen are rather squishy, but once the pearl dragons head into combat, they become rather squishy too. And you can see I'm just throwing the weight of my cavalry and my leaders around at these insignificantly numbered units on this portion of the battlefield. However, like I said, the AI is going to number almost 6,000 strong. They've only got 4,000 roughly on the battlefield so far. And you can see that these reinforcements are going to be pretty quickly dealt with. Relatively minor losses, except this white wave horseman here. Even though I charged this G militia unbraced, you will still occasionally get weird things where I don't know if it's a weird thing with the charge reflection, if I just got unlucky or what, but I know they weren't braced when I charged them, yet they got a ton of damage done on my cavalry anyway. So you just always got to be careful charging the G. It's best done if they're engaged in melee already. Anyway, we managed to clean up all these units over here, so basically I needed a whole bunch of kills there. If I'm going to survive this battle, I'm outnumbered 2 to 1, and the only way I'm going to survive is by killing a whole bunch of their units early and for little cost to myself. So if you look at the kill trade there on the allied troop count, when I mouse over this down in the bottom right, I've taken only like 30-ish losses, and the enemy has taken almost 600-ish, almost 700. I have all my reinforcements coming, so my reinforcing army is Zhang Ying, and I've got Zun Cao, and his army is going to have some People's Warband. You can see these are kind of like a light sword infantry, dual wielders. They're pretty good assault infantry. We've got some white wave veteran, good medium swordsmen. Nice frontline infantry there. So let's see, we got a couple of those, and let's see what other troops I got behind them. We got some Yellow Sky Heralds. You guys saw those a moment ago. Some more Yellow Turban Warriors. These are just kind of a light infantry. And then, yeah, Venerable Wu. These guys are cool. They have poisoned weapons, and they have a scare effect Very cool unit to use, as they can drop the morale of enemies. This is another one of my favorites here. This one is Bringers of Righteousness. This is a bow unit, but they're armed with a glaive as a secondary, and they can set up in a certain formation to reflect cavalry charges. A very cool unit indeed. So the main enemy force has started to reach my lines. I've used my leaders to try and interrupt their cavalry charges as best I can. You can see my cavalry here. Militia of Virtue shows up as a spear unit, but it is not an anti-cavalry unit, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now I'm going to be counting on my Yushia to help hold the main line. My crossbows will outrange enemy bows, and I'm going to have to use them to clean up enemy skirmishers so I don't soak up too much damage. I do have a few heavy spearmen that I haven't covered yet. It's going to be these reclaimers here. Really cool unit here. I'm going to zoom down on them. I'm getting a little bit of weird stutter here that's only happening in huge battles on Three Kingdoms. I don't know if it's something that may get patched out, but it's kind of strange. Over here, there was a duel offered to my general with this champion, and I decided to take it. Taking out these champions is pretty important, and if any of my leaders are going to have a chance, it's going to be my scholar. So it's going to be a difficult duel, and I really need to win it. And if I can take him out, you can see I'm trying to pick at the leadership. I have got my leaders ganging up on singled out enemies. My Yushia is holding the line quite nicely. The Militia of Virtue and Reclaimers will also hold nicely. Whatever spots it is, I'm using my Yellow Turban horsemen to go after one of their leaders, and you can see that their champion is in pretty bad shape, and my reinforcements are starting to flow in. So now if I can just start beating them, you can see now they have 4,500 units on the battlefield. Most of the reinforcements are still streaming in from the back, so this is good for me. I can take advantage of that situation up front. They do have some mounted Lancer militia that is harassing my flank here. It's not good. I really don't like this enemy cavalry roving, but fortunately it's just peasant raiders. You can see the duel is working in my favor at the moment. We're pretty close to shutting down our foe here. Now that we have the blood effects, I'll try and get in close. There he goes. Stabbed him with his own spear. So my scholar apparently learned his lessons well in school, so Zhang Yin emerges victorious, and that's big. I've now used my leaders to try and crunch a flank here. There were some heavy spear guards for the enemy, and I've charged my leaders into the back of them to try and get them to flee, because they're a heavier unit, and I really don't want the fighting going on for too terribly long. Some of my reinforcements are starting to arrive, and I'm going to bring them in to start engaging these units from the Kingdom of Haishen. You can see that their reinforcements are streaming in too, and a lot of axemen rolling up right here. Definitely a bandit faction. So they got these Black Mountain Marauders rolling in. They won't be too much of a match though. Their axes are helping them against my Yushia, who are actually not loving that fight right now. We've got more Black Mountain Outlaws rolling in back here, and you can see that I'm really focused on the leadership of the enemy, though there's two more champions over here, and that's going to be a pain in the butt. The champions are very tough, sometimes tougher than your scholars. One of their vanguard units has managed to get in and blob up my crossbows, and I'm now taking a bunch of shots from their skirmishers. It's not ideal. I'm going to bring in these Yellow Sky Heralds and then my leadership and see if I can clean up the enemy leader who's over here disrupting my crossbows. So we put down another enemy leader. What a shame! What a shame indeed. So I'm managing to hold the enemy, but their numbers are huge. I'm going to use my crossbows. Their flank is exposed here. I'm going to start putting a little bit of fire into this exposed flank, but more and more troops just continue to pour in for the Kingdom of Haishen. And again, you can see I'm going to kind of rove my leaders together. And I'm going to do this so that I don't have to get in a duel with these guys, but I can try and go multiple units on one and just kind of overpower enemy leaders. They've got some Black Mountain Outlaws rolling in here. So again, let's take a look at the numbers game. They've deployed over 5,000 troops. I've now lost 1,000 troops, but they have lost almost 2,500 troops. So it's been a bloody battle, but unfortunately for me, the enemy now has reinforcements, and they're going to execute rear charges here with this cavalry, which is going to be pretty painful. Fortunately for me, some of my most veteran troops are here, and they'll manage to hold their ground for a little longer, but this is pretty bad. I've got this mounted saber militia coming in as reinforcements. My crossbows are getting low on ammo, and I do have some more reinforcements coming in. These Bringers of Righteousness, and I have a couple more Yusha that are coming in the slowest because of their speed. They're heavy. Another enemy general down, so you can see I've picked apart the enemy leadership. Over here there's some Pearl Dragons. This is a tough unit. They're only a light infantry, but don't be fooled. They're a tough unit. Most glaive infantry in this game is pretty tough. So here comes the reinforcements. They're gonna hit my flank, so I moved some of my reinforcements in so that I had some reserves. I'm now gonna engage the Kingdom of Haishan's backlines here. The left flank for me starts to go pretty favorably. I cleared up a little bit of their left flank. My Yellow Turban horsemen are out cleaning up some archers, by the way. All we've got left over here is these Pearl Dragons and some Spear Warriors, and yeah, Spear Warriors. Here's another enemy champion who is fighting on. These guys can kill a whole lot of your infantry. You can see he's got 140 kills to his name. I am trying to kill all these units, but it takes time. You can see him over here. My leaders pushed him around. Doing whatever we can to catch this guy. And there's another champion that came in with the reinforcements. All these champions are a big-time pain in the butt because they're very strong units. So the AI cleaned up my right flank, and so now they are free. And again, the battle is just for pure survival at this point. If I can finish wiping out the enemy leadership, I'll live, but the numbers of enemies is getting pretty terrifying at this point. It's getting pretty terrifying. I've held my ground fairly well, but there's a significant number of enemies left. These units like this Militia of Virtue, very handy because they don't rout. And like I said, they can avoid almost all the melee attacks from enemies because of their stats. So they last a very long time in combat. They're a handy unit for holding a line while you need to do work elsewhere. Now, since they act as kind of light support infantry, I was able to take these Bringers of Righteousness in and intercept these Pearl Dragons. And we're going to blob up as many units as I can with them. These units won't win this fight, but you can see they're blobbing enemies up nicely. And when they run out of ammo, my Watchmen of the Peace and Bringers of Righteousness, which are both my missile units, double decently in melee. They're not super impressive, but they get the job done. The Watchmen of the Peace, for instance, are a medium unit, and they're not bad when you have to throw them into melee. So the last enemy champion, he's down.
I honestly expected more.
And at this point, you look at the balance of power. Even when I've killed all their leaders, they still have 2,000 troops to my 1,400. So, yeah, they're up to almost the full 6,000 number there. And their leadership's just really starting to give way, despite their numbers. They do have a few tough units, like these Pearl Dragons, still around. Fortunately, though, the leadership is in the favor of my troops. Their G Militia here fighting my Yusha. Let you get some of this up-close action. Yellow Sky Heralds there, wielding those hammers. So a lot of cool units. I really enjoyed the Yellow Turbans in campaign. They're different, and the diplomacy lack thereof, I should say, is pretty painful sometimes. Look, more enemy units came out of the battlefield, so more Pearl Dragons, more G troops, more swordsmen. So I've got even more enemy troops to take out, and they've gotten fresh archers in the back. I've got a couple of Bringers of Righteousness who are still able to fire. Otherwise, I'm taking my Watchmen of the Peace and the Bringers of Righteousness who have expended their ammo, and I'm starting to engage in melee. So it's just a desperate fight. And fortunately for me, though, my leadership, like I said, is cleaning things out. Tan Kint here. It's a champion who rolled in. I just immobilized him with one of the abilities off of my veterans. So he's in trouble here, absolutely surrounded by enemies. He's trying to flee. He's going to be chased down. And if we get rid of him, it'll be a huge blow to the leadership of the enemy troops. There he goes. So now all the leadership is gone. If my men can just hold on a little longer, and there were some additional reinforcements that couldn't come on until now, that are in the background, but they're way too far away to actually participate in this fight. So now my leaders are able to use their massive damage and relative mobility to help me finish up this fight. All my forces held, and the Kingdom of Haishan is going to be put to a rout in a, like I said, massive battle for survival. Just look at the battlefield carnage here. This was quite a fight. The blood effects in the game, by the way, are looking quite nice. Look at this. Yes, the good old carnage of the battlefield. It was an impressive fight. An impressive fight. It looks like there's, oh no, those are their flags just stuck in the ground. These are my militia virtue. Virtue indeed. These gentlemen look like they've had quite the fight. Let you see all my troops here. I believe those are my Watchmen of the Peace, who are now in melee mode. They are really cool looking units. So yeah, it was a huge battle for survival. I had to take down an enemy that outnumbered me over 2 to 1. And you guys can see the ensuing battlefield carnage that was out there from the beginning cavalry charges through the heavy infantry slog. Oh man, it was nice. Hope you all enjoyed this one. If you all did, I will try and bring you more stuff like this in the future, whereas I'm playing through these campaigns and I get some epic battles, I will try and save them and record them for you. Again, if you all enjoyed it, make sure you go subscribe, hit that like button. All that stuff helps me out a lot, and I appreciate your support. And I hope to see you back with some more battles soon. Heir of Carthage signing out, and I will see you soon.